Good morning. I'm still reporting on a fascinating Newsmax mini documentary on Charlton Heston. Bella, our little white dog with the determination of a lion, woke me up early again this morning, like 3:15 a.m., but I didn't get my computer up and running until 4:20. When I saw that Newsmax was running one of its legendary 4 a.m. mini documentaries on the life of Charlton Heston, I was fascinated. I was always interested in Heston's cinema presence, but knew nothing about his personal life. For example, I didn't realize that Heston was a stage name. He was born John Charles Carter. The stage name was adopted in the 1940s. But there is so much more. Did you know that until the 1960s, Heston was a liberal Democrat, but was asked to run for president numerous times by both Democrats and Republicans, and would surely have won? But that was during the ascendance of his good friend and predecessor as president of the NRA, Ronald Reagan. Heston maintained in his 1995 autobiography, In the Arena, that he was primarily interested in maintaining his acting career rather than endure the rigors of political life. Heston's son says that he always felt like he'd won the parental lottery being born to his parents. Ronald Reagan was president from 1981 to 1989. He died in 2004 at age 93 when Heston was 81. Heston was stricken by Alzheimer's disease at a relatively early age and only outlived Reagan by 4 years, dying in 2008.
Heston was somebody who had all the qualifications: big, strong, sensitive, and DeMille thought he could play Moses and gave him the role.
The lengthy film was nonetheless one of the greatest box office successes of all time and landed Charlton Heston on the A-list.
Crowds assembled to witness a celebrity parade at the New York world premiere of The Ten Commandments. From the cast of Paramount's VistaVision presentation, a $13 million classic which will be seen on theater screens for years to come, a who's who of great Hollywood stars. Charlton Heston, arriving with Mrs. Heston, enacts the role of Moses, from his youth to leading his people out of bondage.
DeMille even cast Heston's 3-month-old son, Frazier Heston, as the infant Moses, who literally gets sent down the river in Act 1 of the film. Heston was rumored to be dead set against his own child being in the movie because of the inherent danger of producing a film on location in a foreign land. His fears were borne out when an incident in the river during shooting caused baby Frazier to nearly drown. Despite the newfound fame and demands for his around-the-clock time, Charlton Heston never forgot about his own childhood. Heston flew back home on weekends to be with his wife and kids and brought the family with him on location around the world. For the kids, it was heaven and an upbringing few get to experience.
I feel like kind of won the parent lottery. My parents were wonderful, greatest generation Midwesterners, really decent, kind-hearted people, and they knew that all the glitz and glamour of Hollywood was just exactly that. I was never tired of sitting around on movie sets watching them make films, and I suppose that's why I became a filmmaker.
In 1958, Heston packed up the entire family and steamed across the ocean to star in the lead role of another epic film, which would go on to become one of the greatest movies of all time, although no one knew at the time.
Heston was cast in Ben-Hur by William Wyler, the director.
This immense, some said foolish undertaking was one of the most costly and complex movies ever made. Many thought it to be a mistake, the kryptonite which might finish off Heston's now rocketing career. You're watching American Moses, the Charlton Heston story. As a Hollywood star, Charlton Heston made epics, action movies, science fiction, westerns, big-budget studio films. as well as small independent productions.
That character.
Do commanders-in-chief count? I played 3 presidents.
I would think that. Have you ever just played a slob?
He also appeared in a cornucopia of television shows and TV series.
Stop it! Stop it!
Are you serious? Stop! Look, we're still breathing. We're deaf, dumb, and blind, yeah, but we're not dead yet.
That's what I think, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Well, don't waste time being sorry. There'll be time for that. There'll be plenty of time. When the cities go one by one, you can be sorry. When the first 30 million people die screaming in the streets, you can be sorry. Just lay off being sorry now, huh? Self-pity, something we're going to have plenty of.
The occasional appearance on Saturday Night Live or Letterman or the Tonight Show kind of relieved the rather formidable authoritarian image that all those prophets and princes and policemen and quarterbacks have imposed on the public's impression of me.
And there was this absolute stunned silence, and DeMille says, "Lunch!" And that was it. Now, if it's not true, it's a great story.
That's true. That was
So it
on
shows
10
the man who's got had a
Commandments,
great sense of
He
humor
was,
somewhere along the line.
Yeah, that was the same set and the same sequence, the worship of the golden calf sequence, where they had these people rolling around in bunches of grapes and lion skins for about a week and a half, worshiping the golden calf, waiting for me to come down from the mountain with the tablets. And I finally came down just before they called lunch, another day, but the same set. And I said, who is on the Lord's side, let him come to me. And so everybody cowered back, you know, and just then they broke for lunch. So I'm walking along, trailing clouds of glory behind me to lunch. And I walked by this little slave girl, and she says, "Party pooper."
Those are great stories. Well, I'm glad to hear that that story actually happened, because it's a classic of all times that he cut lunch. I don't know if we ever talked about this. You grew up in a very small town, didn't you?
Smaller than anybody. Small town.
I grew in small towns, but I'm talking about...
My small town was smaller than your small town.
Yeah, somebody told me about 100 people?
Yeah, had a one-room school with 13 pupils in 8 grades, 3 of whom were my cousins.
And you go through...
I was valedictorian of my class.
After his success as Moses in the 10 Commandments, for which he received a Golden Globe Best Actor nomination, Charlton Heston didn't jump right into another big-budget epic.
Wells had been living and working in exile in Europe for nearly 10 years when he returned to Hollywood in 1958 to create, almost by accident, one of his most unforgettable screen performances.
Touch of Evil was one of those movies that is so dense and so perfect that every time you talk about it, every time you see it, every time you think about it, something new comes out.
It was a film noir-style crime drama which had Heston playing a Mexican drug investigator. It doesn't get much further away from Moses and the Bible than that. But as long as Charlton Heston had the leverage to do it, he was going to do it.
Are you telling me you never planted any evidence, Sergeant?
Of course not. Neither did Hank.
It's all
Never.
there. The axe and the burger slaying, the dentures in the Ewell case. Planting evidence, framing suspects.
Soon after, the young star would embark upon the mission of a lifetime, a part in a project so ambitious that its success or failure would either make or break not only the studio, but also determine the fame and fortune of Charlton Heston's very existence, the role of Judah Ben-Hur. Directed by William Wyler, Ben-Hur would become known as one of the most successful and critically acclaimed movies of all time.
Ramming speed. Ramming speed!
The film won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Charlton Heston.
To present the Academy Award to the artist voted by his fellows in the industry as having given the best performance by an actor. The nominees are Lawrence Harvey, Room at the Top, Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur, Jack Lemmon, Some Like It Hot, Paul Muni, The Last Angry Man, and James Stewart, Anatomy of a Murder. Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur.
It's really true. When you stand here, you want to thank everybody you ever knew in this business. I feel like starting with the first secretary or whoever let me sneak into a Broadway casting call. 10 years ago this month, I made my first picture in Hollywood. And since that time, I've worked with a great many of you. And every one of you did something to put me here tonight.
Making the infamous chariot race scene was an undertaking requiring an immense amount of money and technical skill for its day. The filmmakers did not have the luxury of computer-generated effects or models. Charlton Heston trained for weeks to learn how to handle a team of racing horses around the massive Circus Maximus recreated for the film. Most actors would have left it to professional stuntmen, but so many of the shots demanded close-ups of the actors, Heston insisted on doing his own riding. After the incredible critical and box office success of Ben-Hur, Heston focused on other giant roles in big epic films.
Repent! The anger of the Lord is upon all nations.
He played John the Baptist in The Greatest Story Ever Told, Michelangelo in 1965's The Agony and the Ecstasy, and the title role in Major Dundee, directed by the great Sam Peckinpah, just to name a few.
I have but 3 orders of march. If I signal you to come, you come. If I signal you to charge, you charge. And if I signal you to run, you follow me and run like hell.
This was also when Charlton Heston began speaking out on political matters and human rights, especially where it concerned the rights of Americans whom he felt were being unfairly oppressed. Would it surprise you to know that the man perhaps now best known for being president of the NRA was not only a liberal, but in fact more liberal than most Democrats of his day? Charlton Heston's story.
No one was more proud to be American than the beloved patriot, and you know who I'm talking about. We remember on gatherings like today, your former 5-term president, the late Charlton Heston. How good was Charlton? And I remember Charlton, he was out there fighting when maybe a lot of people didn't want to be fighting. He was out there for a long time. He was a great guy.
During the March on Washington in 1963 for minority rights, Charlton Heston stood arm in arm with Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
A contingent of screen and stage stars came by air.
Heston was an ardent and vocal supporter of the civil rights cause long before Hollywood found it fashionable.
In the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, Charlton Heston was a liberal. He was a Roosevelt liberal, they used to call them in those days. Someone who voted Democratic. He was in the Democratic Party. In 1963, he took part in the March on Washington with Marlon Brando and Harry Belafonte.
In 1964, he endorsed Democrat Lyndon Johnson for president, who had pushed civil rights legislation through Congress. Following in the footsteps of his friend and fellow actor Ronald Reagan, Charlton Heston served as president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1965 until 1971.
I was 4 weeks ago among the delegates to the National AFL-CIO convention in Miami Beach, representing the union of which I'm president, the Screen Actors Guild. And while there, I was talking to Bayard Rustin, who was also a delegate and is, of course, one of the leading figures in the civil rights movement. And we were reminiscing then about the Washington March 5 years ago, which
I said I felt, and I was interested to note agreed, was the high water mark of the American Civil Rights Movement. On the one hand, resulting as it did in the passage of the Civil Rights Bill early in the Johnson administration. And I said I was very proud that day.
Ladies and gentlemen, captured slave Charlton Heston.
In 1968, in the midst of all this political turmoil, Heston starred in the movie he is best known for by people of all generations.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here hosting Saturday Night Live, even if it is as a prisoner.
The Planet of the Apes.
It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
The story of an astronaut being enslaved by a population of intelligent and fascist apes gave way to a flood of political and social conspiracy.
There was kind of a self-segregation. The gorillas would all eat at one table, the chimpanzees would eat at another, and the orangutans would eat at another. I have no explanation for that whatsoever, but it was true. It was a conflict of civilizations, if you like. What interested me particularly about it was the dichotomy of Taylor's character. He was a harsh, embittered man who had become so disenchanted with his civilization that he literally leaves the earth.
You who are reading me now are a different breed. I hope a better one.
And then he finds himself in an alien planet populated by apes, and he is alone required to defend humankind.
I ought to kill you right now. Come on.
It's an interesting dichotomy, and I tried to get as much out of it as I could.
What did the film mean, and why did Heston choose to play the lead?
When a film like The Planet of the Apes came along, Charlton Heston had no problem taking it. He liked the script. He thought it was funny. He didn't see a message in it, although people later on did. But mainly, he liked it because the original writer of the screenplay was Rod Serling from The Twilight Zone. He admired his writing, and he liked the idea of changing his image, broadening his appeal by running around in a loincloth on a planet in typical Rod Serling fashion that was really Earth.
Doctor, I'd like to kiss you goodbye.
All right, but you're so damned ugly.
Was that the first interspecies kiss?
Young people especially love the film, but the real attraction is its pure entertainment value.
You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! Damn you all to hell!
In the 70s, Heston's career continued the wild turn towards science fiction. He starred in the futuristic thriller The Omega Man in 1971, which featured the first interracial kiss in an American film. In 1973, the iconic twister Soylent Green hit theaters, and people haven't stopped squirming since.
Tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them Silent Green is people!
Disaster films and action star movies like Earthquake, Skyjacked, Midway, Airport 1975, and 2-Minute Warning followed.
We're coming up in the 2-minute warning. You ought to have your people in place by then. When the 2-minute whistle blows, it's your ballgame. He's up!
It was an amazing box office run. During the 1980s, as Heston's acting career tailed off, he began serving as a spokesman for conservative causes.
I've played men like Tom Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Lincoln, all of them heroes defending American freedom. There are Americans still carrying on that fight. Citizens want the right to work without being forced to join a union. Now, as a former union president, I believe Americans should be free to choose.
But Heston did not have his sights set on being a politician as Ronald Reagan did. He was approached on more than one occasion by both Democrats and Republicans to run for the Senate. But unlike Reagan, Heston found it impossible to give up his one true passion.
Everybody expected Charlton Heston to run for president, something I talked about in my book a little bit. The difference between Ronald Reagan and Charlton Heston is that Ronald Reagan was a politician who also acted. Charlton Heston was an actor who also participated in politics.
A supporter of Democrats in the 60s, Charlton Heston would tire of the party's liberalism, which had morphed from defending rights to one he saw that was restricting freedoms.
Every hour of life has its own moment of truth. And who better to call it to our attention than the man who parted the Red Sea? Chuck Heston.
I remember coming home very late one night after a long session, 4 a.m. Lydia woke up. Honey, I said, we've got a leader. Yeah, you could say that. A little less than 5 years ago, in Washington at the ceremonies marking his first inauguration, I said, tomorrow at high noon, on the steps of the Capitol, one man will take in his hand the most awesome power and influence ever held by a single human being. He will be, thenceforth, forever wrapped in legend and myth. He will also pick up a burden of responsibility that has no known counterpart in the civilized world. Ronald Reagan will become the lineal descendant of Washington and Adams, Jefferson and Jackson, Lincoln, Wilson, Roosevelt. With them, he will be linked to the very birth date of this republic. And so he has. So he has.
He was a 5-term president of the National Rifle Association, and it is this role which sometimes defines Charlton Heston's life and throws shade over his long and storied acting career.
So, as we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed, and especially for you, Mr. Gore. From my cold, dead hands.
Heston's association with the NRA, the National Rifle Association, pretty much killed his career as a bankable movie star. People couldn't separate his politics from his acting ability, and his legacy remains both a great actor and on the wrong side of Hollywood politics.
For 50 years, Charlton Heston was consistent in his political principles. He believed in the Constitution and the rights of rank-and-file Americans.
Legendary actor Charlton Heston. We've been with him through the years and have one of his last known interviews in this story from Stage 28.
My dear friends, colleagues, and fans, my physicians have recently told me I may have a neurological disorder whose symptoms are consistent with Alzheimer's disease.
The world was rocked with the news on August 9, 2002, when Charlton Heston announced he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. On the morning of April 5, 2008, with his wife of 64 years by his side, the actor quietly slipped away at his home in Beverly Hills, California. He was 84 years old when he passed, but Charlton Heston will live on through the powerful characters and heroes he brought to life.
Our founding fathers were both wise men and warriors, both scholars and fighters. Jefferson, Adams, Mason, Hamilton, Madison, and many more. Our founders pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor in the name of liberty. We pledge to preserve it. But those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom, said Thomas Paine, must undergo the fatigue of supporting it. That's us. Yes, times will come that will try your souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will shrink from battle. You must not. So, this, I suppose, is my counsel. It's in the Bible, it's on the Liberty Bell, and it's in my heart. Go forth and proclaim liberty throughout all the land, unto all the inhabitants thereof. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thanks for enjoying this presentation of American Moses, the Charlton Heston story.
I'm still reporting from just outside the Citadel of World Freedom. Good day.